It was the third year of our summer programs, and I felt like we finally got it right. We had a rigorous selection process for our teaching fellows, there was training and time to prepare for the classroom, and we could describe what a good summer program would look and feel like for our scholars. I was ready to scale the work we were doing nationwide, and one of the biggest foundations in New York City committed to doing a site visit to see us in action. I had already practiced how I was going to react to all of the praise and the surprise grant they were bound to give us on the spot when they saw what we were doing. The foundation sent in 2 former educators for the site visit. As far as I could tell, every classroom was running perfectly. After exchanging pleasantries, they went room by room, jotting notes, making small talk with the scholars, and even smiling. I couldn't imagine things going any better. That's when one of the evaluators pulled me into one of our elementary program classes. The scholar was so giddy, I couldn't imagine what was about to come next. While most of the details from that day are a blur, I remember the class going through a math lesson. At this point in the lesson, they were on the independent practice portion. Liz, the evaluator, asked the scholar, "Why are you learning this?" Easy, I thought. I can't believe she pulled me into this classroom to ask our scholars such a basic question. That's when things got interesting. The scholars started by telling us what they were learning. Figured this was their way of showing off how attentive they were. Liz proceeded by saying, "That's great, but why are you learning about it?" The scholar repeated the same exact thing they had just said about what they were learning. There was ever a moment in my life where I went from cool as a cucumber to profusely sweating out my suit. It was then. The possibility that this wasn't going to end well was now running through my mind. Liz asked one more time, "Do you know why you're learning about this?" The scholar got nervous. It dawned on them that they had given the wrong answer. They froze for what seemed like an eternity. My nervousness quickly transformed into embarrassment. The scholar then said, "I don't know," and walked back to their desk, signaling that they were over the questioning. That's when my embarrassment turned to shame. Needless to say, there was no surprise grant or funding that followed, and the praise they did share at the end of their visit was completely forgotten because I couldn't stop dwelling on the 3 words the scholar had shared that continued to echo through my mind. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. We never received any funding from the foundation. I'd like to believe they just didn't like me. But in my heart, I knew we didn't check off one of the most basic boxes when we were teaching, ensuring that our scholars not only know what they are learning, but why they are learning it, grounding our lessons in purpose. What seemed like something so obvious was not obvious at all. I've since visited more classrooms than I care to count, and in less than 10% of my visits were scholars able to articulate why they are learning something. In less than 1% of my visits, the scholars were able to connect what they are learning to something in the real world. I would like to believe that most educators think it is so obvious they completely gloss over the importance of ensuring everyone knows why they are learning something and how it connects to the real world. But I know that would make me too naive. It's more likely that we just forget to do the simple things. That summer site visit made me realize the importance of ensuring scholars understand the purpose behind their learning, which is where learning objectives come in. A learning objective is a specific statement that describes what a scholar should be able to know or do after completing a lesson or a course. Understanding the why and making the connection to the real world is what gives life to the learning objective. For example, my learning objective for this lesson is to ensure you can define what a learning objective is and articulate the importance of scholars knowing why they are learning something. At this point in the lesson, we've defined the learning objective, and you have a sense of why it's important for scholars to be able to share why they are learning something. In an effort to avoid making the same mistake we made in our classrooms for years, I'm not going to assume you understand the significance of making the connection to the real world. Helping bridge the gap for scholars enhances the learning experience in the classroom, but the benefit doesn't stop there. There are 4 more benefits to making the connection. 1, increased motivation. When scholars understand the purpose behind what they're learning, they're more likely to be engaged and motivated. They see the bigger picture and how the knowledge or skill applies to their lives. 2, deeper understanding. Connecting learning to real-world scenarios helps scholars make sense of the information. They can see how it's relevant and can be used to solve problems or answer questions they might encounter outside the classroom. 3, improved retention. Scholars are more likely to remember information that they can connect to something they already know or understand. Real-world examples make learning more relatable and memorable. 4, transferable skills. Learning objectives that emphasize real-world application encourage scholars to develop transferable skills, like critical thinking, problem solving, and communication. These skills are valuable across different subjects and can be used throughout their lives. Let's bring this learning to life a little with a couple of examples. Imagine you're teaching about fractions. You can quickly share that it is important to learn about fractions because they're everywhere. When you're baking cookies, sharing snacks with friends, reading recipes, following exercise routines, and understanding discounts at stores. Or let's say you're teaching about metaphors. You can quickly share that metaphors help us express our ideas more clearly. For example, if we're trying to help someone who's having trouble understanding the concept of saving money, we could explain it with a metaphor like our piggy bank is like a seed. The more money we put in, basically plant the seed, the more we'll have saved up later, or the bigger the plant grows. This makes saving money feel more exciting and helps scholars grasp the idea of growth over time. The big takeaway here is that you can add immediate value in the classroom just by asking the scholar, why are we learning this? Then you can work with them to come up with real-world applications and bridge the gaps. Notice how I didn't just say tell them? That's because the connections resonate more as scholars come up with them on their own.